Efforts continue today to test the soil and the air at houses on Fox Avenue, part of a neighborhood off Military Road in the town of Niagara, where higher than normal levels of radiation are being investigated. Carolyn and John Johnson were getting ready to move from their home of 36 years to a place in Williamsville. Others, some of whom have hired private firms to do testing, are also looking to leave if there are accommodations to suit their needs. For the Johnsons, who say the levels of radiation detected on their property were 100 times more than normal, there is sadness about leaving, anger for what happened, confusion, and fear.
I mean, we've even eaten out of a radioactive garden for several years, and so, you know, you're eating the stuff that could, if you ingest it, whether dust or water
scary part, yeah, because ingestion is worse than if it's like gamma.
Yeah,
it's worse to ingest it or alpha.
No, gamma will go right through you. There's beta and there's alpha. One is water soluble, the other one.
It's like you're getting an education you never signed up to get.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They hope the government will buy their home because they don't see how they can sell it now. And while items made of solid material that can be wiped down can come with them, upholstered furniture or other items made of cloth or paper will have to be left for fear they may have absorbed radiation. Meanwhile, 5 miles southeast of here.
I want our family relocated, and I want us to feel safe again.
This home on 99th Street, just a block away from the Love Canal containment site, is where 3 weeks ago Jocelyn McKiernan and her husband began excavating their yard to install a pool and new playground for their children. They came across hundreds of these odd-looking bars. An internet search advised she contact authorities. She did. The DEC tested, revealing the presence of lead, other metals, and chemicals. The DEC later came and put a liner over the yard and covered it with a foot of soil after a contractor Jocelyn attempted to hire wouldn't touch it. As for those suspicious bars they found, she was advised to put them someplace out of the way. So she placed them under the back deck where several remain, and she won't let her kids, who she's now having tested for heavy metal exposure, come outside and play in what was supposed to be a child's paradise.
How do you sleep at night knowing that these are in the air and in the soil, poisoning your children?
It might not look like it, but there was once a drive-in theater located at 4287 Whitmer Road, and the final reel spun in 1986. It was then sold to a developer who put this one-story building up. However, it has seemingly sat vacant since the early 2000s. You could drive by it and not even realize it's there. But the site is significantly contaminated. Prior to the drive-in, the site was a farm of some sorts.
Before that, it was a farm. And apparently when it was a farm, it served as the receptacle for all kinds of waste that was being dumped there.
The DEC has known about this and wrote a substantial report about it in 2008 and outlined significant contamination. Everything from volatile organic compounds like xylene, ethylbenzene, toluene, but no jolene. Other semi-volatile organic compounds, even heavy metals like arsenic, copper, and chromium. But no radioactive contamination, at least none listed in the 2008 report. And since 2008, there's been no evidence of any DEC-led cleanup at that site. Fast forward to February 2020, in a meeting of the Niagara-Orleans Regional Land Improvement Corporation, also known as NORLIC. Basically, they're the land bank for Niagara and Orleans counties, and through tax delinquency are the current property owners. In February 2020, NORLIC reviewed proposals for an environmental site assessment, which included radiological testing. In June 2020, a fieldwork update revealed, quote, high radioactive levels. In August 2020, another update that said, quote, the property is contaminated with higher than allowed levels and that some radioactive slag exists on the site and would require more than $1 million of remediation. 2 years later, in August 2022, nothing has changed with the site, and still, quote, significant contamination exists at the site. Why does any of this matter? The contamination of the former drive-in is situated about 1,500 feet from Lexi Hawk's house and other houses that have had confirmed radioactive hotspots by the DEC.
I am so angry, I don't even know how to put it into words.
According to witnesses in the neighborhood, the DEC had crews at the former drive-in location on Wednesday. When Two on Your Side arrived in the afternoon, the site looked untouched. One of the points of contention for Lexi and many of the residents that have had confirmed radioactive hotspots is a growing pattern of several agencies knew there was contamination, but nothing was ever done about it.
I just can't imagine somebody would allow that to happen to people, to residents. It doesn't make any sense.
Environmental attorney Christine Civiletto has been assisting some of the people that live in the neighborhood near Gill Creek between Whitmer Road and Lockport Road, and everyone wants better answers from the DEC.
They need to get to Lexi's property and to all of these residents and start figuring out, did it migrate off-site? We've got Gill Creek, which has been tremendously impacted by many sources. So we got to figure out what's happening in Gill Creek. But also we had flooding in this neighborhood in the past week, and it was significant flooding. So are these contaminants on the move? They need to be there figuring that out.
For Lexi Hawk and several of her neighbors who are also concerned, they have a more direct request.
We want them to fence off the property
And have it be considered for a federal Superfund status. During a previous visit by the DEC, field crews taped off her property and its access to Gill Creek, which again runs directly past the former drive-in site.
extremely frustrating, especially after you have children and you let your children play back there because they're more susceptible than adults are.
Shatisha Dade was only 32 years old. Her father says, and even her sister says, she complained about her ex-boyfriend, and they call this domestic violence. This is Shatisha. She was shot Friday evening inside her McCamley home in Buffalo. She died the following day at ECMC. Her family says she was in an abusive relationship with the man police charged with murder, 36-year-old Ramon James.
She was tired of him. She just wanted to be free from him. And he just wouldn't let her be.
Her sister says Shatisha expressed fear.
My sister was scared of him, but she loved him at the same time, so she was easy to let him back in sometimes.
She last spoke with her sister the day of the shooting. Now she has a message for other victims of domestic violence.
Leave before it get that way.
Even more painful, the family says Shatisha's 13-year-old daughter was home at the time of the shooting. Police arrested James on Kiefer Street while executing a warrant on Sunday. Shatisha would have turned 33 on September 11th. Her dad grieving but reflecting on his oldest daughter.
It's no explaining to losing a child. This child, from birth was amazing. Everybody loved her.
Ramon James is due back in court on Friday. On your side, Claudine Ewing, Channel 2 News.
Well, if you were expecting the announcement of some bold new initiative today, Courtney, you'd have been sorely disappointed. Instead, officials talked mostly about things they're already doing, many of which have been tried in the past when things down here have gotten out of hand. And they did acknowledge that this summer in particular has been troublesome on Chippewa, with the police commissioner in particular saying her officers have been fought with and subject to new levels of disrespect by unruly visitors. The cops don't break up too many bar fights per se, because most of the problems occur in nearby parking lots where folks come in and booze it up, and this leads to fights. On that note, the city has been putting those parking lot owners on notice.
So they're relying on taxpayers and the Buffalo Police to babysit their lots that are causing a huge problem for all of us in public safety when they're not there.
Last week we sent out a letter. Actually, we personally served them all. They were responsive. You can see the reactions last weekend, where they've either closed their permits after 6 p.m. That's been very effective. They've also hired security. They're in the process of installing bollards. But yes, they have been responsive.
The mayor says that typically the city was spending about $20,000 per weekend, or about $1.2 million per year, on police patrols for Chippewa, but the police commissioner says in recent weeks the cost has gone from $65,000 to $70,000 per weekend. That, of course, is due to putting more officers on the beat down here on weekends and on patrol. And while Commissioner Shields says that does seem to be working, she also says it's financially unsustainable for the city. And while it was said that increased police patrols down here on Chippewa on weekends could mean more arrests, city officials were non-committal when they were asked if that meant that people would actually be locked up for the night or if they would just be given appearance tickets. On your side in downtown Buffalo, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
What started out as heavy rain Monday afternoon quickly turned into what residents call a nightmare for families living along Isherwood Drive in the town of Niagara. Homeowners say water poured across yards, into garages and homes, leaving behind thousands of dollars in damage and painful memories from previous floods.
It's just devastation, and I'm worried about my backyard, but there's neighbors that lost their living rooms, their kitchens. There's another house down this way. They lost their kitchen, their living room, family room. The water was coming through people's front doors from out the back. It's just through their garages to the front yard to blown out fences.
The neighbors say flooding on this street has actually happened before, at least 2 other times in the past 6 years, actually. They say it caused significant damage that some are still trying to pay off, as the area does not qualify for flood insurance.
We're stressed out to the max financially, everything, by fixing everything. Walls, drywall, paying people to come in, because none of us have flood insurance.
Yeah,
and
you can't get flood insurance.
You can't get it. Our
We're not in a
state, none
floodplain.
of them
We're
will
not in a
give it to
floodplain.
us. We'd have to get it out of state and hope it's real insurance.
We are less than half a mile from Gill Creek from where we are standing on Isherwood Drive, and residents tell me when it rains like this, a lot of the water backs up and only floods this side of the road, while the other side stays completely dry.
This is the first time it's happened on this street, especially this side of the street here that you're looking at. This side seems to flood. The water seems to flow from way over, come this way, and flood all these homes out.
Every time it comes down hard, we freak.
We watch.
We were so scared that it's going to happen again, and it did. It happened again.
The residents on this street say they feel lucky to have such a tight-knit neighborhood to help drain their yards and dry their homes, but they say they need some more help.
The town planning board or whoever is in charge of this water has got to do something about it. They reassessed our taxes last year, 3 times the triple for my home, reassessed it 3 times higher than what it had been forever, and we're not getting nothing out of it. We're getting ignored, and it's got to stop.
On your side, Nate Mills, Channel 2 News.
Following this weekend's severe weather and heavy rain, the National Weather Service in Buffalo faced a familiar challenge, sorting through questionable storm reports and images shared on social media, seeking to verify what is real, what is not, and what's being recycled.
We get these storms, whether they be flooding pictures, thunderstorm damage pictures, tornado damage pictures, or pictures of tornadoes themselves. And we have learned over the years that we have to do a lot of work at looking the backstory of them, whether it be reverse image searches or looking at visual cues in the images to look at whether they're real or not.
Fry says National Weather Service meteorologists look for inconsistencies, comparing radar results and the images they're sent. Over the weekend, one image claiming to show a tornado in Niagara County made it to their inbox, but featured clear digital giveaways, he says, including fake-looking water droplets designed to mask and pixelate the image, and floating leaves disconnected from trees.
The fact that this supposedly came from Niagara County is the only picture and nobody has a video, that would be extremely unlikely and very unusual. So automatically with an image like this, your eyebrows are sort of raised right from the beginning.
Fry says the accessibility of generative AI tools have made this even more difficult, where previously it was only photos from other storms trying to be passed off as this one. The National Weather Service urges residents to be skeptical of photos, especially those shared online, without knowing who took or made them. I'll have links to a few online tools to verify photos in this story on WGRZ.com. On your side, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
I think something should be done about it.
Buffalo resident Craig Olidieri worries that with multiple rabies cases this summer, his cats could be at risk.
I wouldn't want to expose them to that. That's why, raccoons or any kind of other animals that are on the ground. That's why I keep them inside.
3 infected bats were found just last month in Niagara County. The county's Department of Health shared Tuesday that a puppy too young for a rabies vaccine had to be put down after it was exposed to a rabid bat in North Tonawanda. 2 other cases of rabies exposure from bats in Heartland and Lewiston last month involved multiple dogs.
That there's more activity and there's more life in summers, so we see more bat sightings and we get more calls.
Director of Niagara County Public Health, Dr. Fazia Khan, says that wild animals are a huge spreader of the fatal disease.
Do not feed, touch, or adopt wild animals or stray dogs or feral cats.
If a raccoon is interested in you, that means they have a problem in their brain, and it's most likely that they're infected with rabies.
Rabies is a virus spread through contact with saliva or infected animals. The CDC says the most common way to get the disease is through bites or scratches of an infected animal.
It is 100% fatal, but it's 100% preventive.
Erie County Commissioner of Health Dr. Gail Burstein says the first step if you think you've been infected is to reach out for help immediately.
When you wake up in the morning and see a bat filing in your room or a bat in your kid's room, home, or then you really have to call us at the health department, 716-961-6800, and we will be on it and be able to investigate.
Both Niagara and Erie counties offer several free vaccine clinics for dogs, pets, and ferrets. The commissioner says Erie County will cover any out-of-pocket expenses to get vaccinated within 10 days of exposure to rabies. On your side of the studio, Maura Vaughn, Channel 2 News.
The event came to our plates on Friday morning, that there was an informal event being scheduled. So we reached out to the organizers right away, found out there was no permits, and told them can't have that event this weekend.
Last week, Buffalo police announced the annual Hood Taste of Buffalo would be canceled. Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan says organizers did not complete the necessary steps to legally and safely host the event on East Ferry Street.
We have an open permit process. People in the office are very friendly. They're very helpful. We want to encourage events like this in the city of Buffalo.
In response, Maston District Councilwoman Zanetta Everhart says on Monday, August 31st, there will be a meeting to educate the community about permits and to encourage vendors to organize special events like the Hood Taste of Buffalo.
A special events permits office, inspections, licensing, Erie County Health Department will be there, Buffalo Police will be there, Buffalo Fire will be there. Everyone who has anything to do with permitting an event or a festival in the city of Buffalo will be at that meeting to give the residents what they need. Give them the information so they're equipped.
Everhart says the Hood Taste of Buffalo is in the process of being rescheduled.
The Hood Taste of Buffalo is a cultural explosion. It's about showcasing our culture and who we are and where we come from. And so I'm excited about it and I'm looking forward to it.
It was a much better day 40 years ago. Sunny, calm winds and all.
Gary Shafsall, Army Corps of Engineers retired, was inspecting the Bird Island Pier when a tug towing Barge 45 had just crossed Lake Erie from Michigan en route to Tonawanda. Ordinarily, it would have taken the Black Rock Canal.
Problem was, on that date, New York State were holding their Empire State Games, so they had closed the federal channel for the rowing competitions.
The tug captain tried instead to navigate the swift waters of the Niagara River. As he tried to pass between Piers 3 and 4 of the Peace Bridge, disaster struck.
At that point, the current caught the barge. He was sideways, floating right by me. He had the engine screaming on the tug, but it wasn't making any difference.
On board the two vessels were 3 souls and 1 Dodge Ram Charger.
As it got sideways, the deckhand was on the winch motor hanging on for dear life.
He watched as the pilot and his wife left the tug to help the barge hand.
He came out of the pilot house of the tug, putting his life jacket on, got about 3-4 steps on the barge when it hit. So as it came in and hit, it rode up the ice knife and folded. He got thrown off into the water.
The Coast Guard was able to save all 3, but the barge was hung up and there was fear if it remained it could cause catastrophic damage to the Peace Bridge.
This thing was 175 feet long, 40 feet wide. The barge itself weighed 300 tons. It's already pretty much half full of water, so you can double that weight. I've got a current against it of 10 to 12 knots, increasing the force even more. This big sail pushing on one of the foundations in the middle of the river on the Peace Bridge. They definitely wanted it gone.
But the question was how, as they faced the classic tale of the irresistible force and the immovable object.
We looked and said, well, we don't have a lot of capability to lift up. We have some capability at the time, but nothing like what was necessary for that.
It would take them 4 months to come up with a plan, assemble the equipment, and after 3 unsuccessful attempts, finally remove the barge in December, during which the effort, dubbed Barge Watch 86 by the media, attracted thousands of spectators to the shoreline for what at times was a carnival-like atmosphere.
I remember one guy, he ran his food truck over there. He was selling barge burgers. Yeah.
In the end, the barge was brought to shore and cut up for scrap. The tug remains at the bottom of the river.
And somewhere out there to this day is that damn Dodge Ram Charger. So where it is, I have no idea, but it's out there.
On your side, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
Several Bills fans I spoke with say they're eager to get inside the new Highmark Stadium for the return of the blue and red scrimmage tomorrow. And one fan who lives in Boston says she purchased season tickets and it was important that she be here for the scrimmage for the first time that the public is welcomed inside the stadium.
While the actual blue and red scrimmage starts at 7 p.m. on Saturday, parking lots open to the public at 3 and fans can enter the stadium at 5. The vice president of venue operations says staff and security at Highmark Stadium have been preparing for this moment for several months. On Friday, fans were in Orchard Park checking out the new stadium, many saying they may never have the chance to see the inside.
We were definitely trying to get lottery tickets to go to the training camp, but it's competitive. The Bills are great. They're a fantastic team. I think this is going to be the big year for them.
I wanted to be at the first thing in the stadium. I'm a new season ticket holder. It's my first time ever being a season ticket holder, and yes, I'm going to come all the way from Boston, not for every game, but a bunch of games. It's wild to think about how the tickets for this are just gone, where it used to be a general admission thing. Everyone's so excited to go in and see our seats.
Leaders from the Bills tell us the fun continues after the scrimmage. There's going to be a fireworks display outside of the new Highmark Stadium. And then next week, starting on Monday, Highmark Tours will be giving the public a chance to see the inside of the stadium. On your side in Orchard Park, Chelsea Swift, Channel 2 News.
Training camp here at St. John Fisher University ending with a bang. The Bills signing guard Osiris Torrance to a 4-year contract extension, reportedly worth over $78 million. We saw Torrance out on the practice field earlier this morning as the Bills' short time here in Pittsford coming to a close. Here's what head coach Joe Brady thinks of his time here at camp.
I like where the guys are at, the personality that they're playing with, the volume that we're putting on their plates and how they're handling it. It's day to day, right? We're still in install and there's intentionality behind everything that we're doing, but everything that we're asking of them, they're handling it in the right way and, kind of making it their own. So I'm pleased with where we're at right now, but it's every day's a challenge.
Next up, our first true time inside the new Highmark Stadium, Saturday evening for the return of the blue and red practice. Coming up later in sports, we will have a lot of reaction on the new Torres contract extension. From Bills training camp here in Pittsford, John Scott, Channel 2 Sports.